Brad, those of you that know me know that Brad does not let me get behind the microphone very often, and he's somewhat traumatized as we speak. I told him we'd turn the volume up really loudly so he could hear us across the way, and he's going to send up a puff of smoke when it's time for me to leave. So Camille's got an eye on the horizon. I want to thank everyone for being here. There's such pent up demand to be out and about. It is so great to see everyone's faces, although I have to admit there is a downside to not wearing the mask. And I've fallen in love with so many people based on their eyes, and I take the mask off and it's a whole different story. Billy Rolfe comes to mind. So this is the purpose of tonight is strictly to thank all of y'all for all the great gifts that you've made to NBA. This is our leadership circle, which represents those that are most loyal to NBA. And before we go any further, I want to introduce the people in my staff that are here. I'll start with Camellia Howarth. If you could just wave, Camellia. And then I think Langan Coleman is here somewhere. Langan's over here. And Lee Adams. And Barry McAllister is the video guy. Courtney Travis. Where's Courtney? Courtney left. Very disappointing. And then last but not least is Kristen Pate. Is Kristen sitting around somewhere? Okay. So she must have snuck out as well. So I was going to tell y'all that Kristen is leaving our services. She started about 3 years ago, and I was going to acknowledge her. The capital campaign, we've done a great job. We're at $212 million. We're trying to get to $250 million. In the last month, we've raised $2 million. So we're starting to flex a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, this is our first development event outdoors, and we're just thrilled to have it and glad y'all are here. Real quickly, Tim's already turned the mic off on. I want to give a quick update on Brad. All of y'all know that his cancer returned, and he's in the middle of treatment. This is the CRT treatment. It's pretty elaborate, and he's had the infusion part. He did that 2 weeks ago yesterday, and he's spent a week in the hospital, and he's been at home for a week. He's doing well. Camellia Langan and I had a Zoom call with him today with 3 students, and he led the charge, and he's hanging in there. He needs your continued thoughts and prayers, but he is across the street as we speak. So I just want to give you that quick update.
Thanks, Jody. So good evening to everyone again. I'm Tim Boyd. I'm the academic dean, and very pleased to be here with all of you, and also to be in the last week of the school year. This is also, for reasons that pass understanding, the week we decided to start potty training our toddler at home. So spending half the day with high school boys in their last week of the spring semester, half the day at home. So on the one hand, I'm sort of begging, pleading, cajoling, a sort of headstrong, hedonistic mindset, just to please do what any normal person would gladly do. And on the other half of the day, I'm trying to persuade my 2-year-old to pee in the potty. But we've actually been pretty pleased with how the year's gone. It's been a very difficult one. Just to give you some insight into what's going through the kids' minds right now, the science teacher found a set of write-offs in his classroom this morning. So evidently someone had misbehaved, and this is what he had them write off 50 times. I will not try to climb the Ingram Science Building like a miniature Spider-Man again. So this gives you some insight into what we have here at the moment. But again, it's been a really difficult year, an unusual year, and we started out sort of cautious on a few things, trying to not to jeopardize the most important thing, which was to have the boys here in person for as much of the year as possible. And I'm sure some things could have gone differently through the year as a whole, but overall we are really, really pleased that we have not had to close for a single day because of COVID and kept the boys here since the start of the year. If you'd offered us that back in July, we would have jumped at it. There's several people here who are crucial. There are several people here who were crucial to making that happen. Mark Tips, you'll hear from in a moment. Mark and Michelle Artisan, who are actually over at the shotgun banquet right now. Caroline Scholler is here. Robert Sawyer is here. Jody Johnson is here. Fran Stewart is here. Everyone was really doing their bit to keep the school open. And now we're at the point where most of the mitigations have been lifted. Dining hall is up and running again. Full capacity, room capacities have been lifted. Social events, as you can bear witness now, are happening. Basically, masks in classrooms are all that's left of the mitigations. Actually, in fairness, we've also asked Jody to stay at least 12 feet away. But that's less to do with COVID and it's more of a legal liability issue. And I also have to give the boys great credit. It's in the difficult circumstances they've had a really, really successful year in many ways. If you were here for the Indata Festival a few weeks ago, they managed to come up with about 5 different plans that they needed to make it work, and it was fantastic. The other service events they did, the Zoom panels they put together with speakers from all over the world, all over the country, because they couldn't bring them here. We've had state championships in lacrosse, in basketball, in hockey. Again, basketball and hockey really had to struggle with some of the quarantines that the boys had to go through, and still to win the state championships. We're hoping for more in soccer, perhaps in tennis, and the cricket state championship is also yet to happen. We have high hopes for that one as well. So the year has been challenging and unique, and I would not have wished to go through it last March, but looking back on it now, I'm really proud of how the boys have handled it and how everyone has handled it. So the year may be unique, but the reason for being here tonight is not. It's kind of timeless, and it's to just thank you all for your generosity and the things that you make possible with your contributions to the annual fund and various other school programs. Lots of examples I could mention, some large, some small and individual, but the one I just want to mention very briefly is thanks to a donation from Bill Sullivan, we were able to make one particular senior who has been a fantastic citizen of the school, but maybe hasn't gotten that much attention or recognition. We were able to make him feel really special at a school assembly just a few weeks ago. So it's little things like that, larger gifts that you're all giving, larger programs you're involved in, so thank you all for everything that you do. You are the reason so many people like to call this place home, and the very least we can do in return is to make you feel at home when you are here as well. So speaking of home, that is, let me wrap up by introducing Ed Cordell, who's going to share his thoughts in a moment about what it means for him to come home to MBA. Now, Ed has just finished his first year back, and we are really, really lucky to have him for lots of reasons, and he will go through some of those, I think, from his standpoint. It's not actually his first stint here. He originally arrived, I looked this up, he originally arrived in the previous century, in 1994, which was actually the year I started high school, Ed, just looking that up as well. Came back to us after 15 years away to teach geometry again, so he's our very own prodigal Pythagorean, and we have enjoyed greatly having him back, and I think you're going to enjoy what he has to say this evening about what it's meant for him to come home to MBA. So please join me in welcoming Ed Cordell.
Dudley and Beth Warner, it was so much fun to hang out with you a while ago. And Lee Noel, you are absolutely the best. It's a thrill to see you and talk with you. It's quite an honor to stand before you. When Jody asked me to speak tonight, I thought, wow, on many levels, wow. It is truly a gift to be given the opportunity to be in the presence of so many generous people who care so deeply about our school. As I've gotten older, and after 36 years of teaching and coaching, I realize that opportunities like this one tonight don't come around very often. So Jody, thank you for this opportunity. I want to personally thank you all for the generous gifts you've given MBA. I've also come to realize how important your gifts are. So once again, thank you. When Mr. Joya asked me to speak at our March 26th faculty meeting, I asked him, what would you like for me to talk about? And he replied, whatever's on your heart, just be yourself. So, like tonight, I considered it a gift to be able to thank the faculty because we had not been able to see each other the way we would have under normal circumstances. I also shared some thoughts about how gifts are all around us to enjoy if we will only slow down enough to become aware of what we have been given. Here's a bit of what I said that morning. It was a little over 1 year ago when my friend Matt Goliner called me. He asked me if I would be interested in talking about the possibility of returning to NBA. I told him I would love to talk. Conversations with Dr. Boyd and Mr. Joya ensued. When it finally became clear that my hiring was going to happen, Brad said two words that were very meaningful to me then, over a year ago, and words that continue to bring me joy. Those two words that Brad lovingly said were welcome home. After being away from the Hill for 16 years, I had been given a tremendous gift, the grace to be able to return home. I am very grateful for this gift. One of my favorite books, if not my favorite book, is The Return of the Prodigal by Henry Nouwen. In many ways, I felt like the prodigal son this past summer when I walked onto campus for the first time in many years. Mark Artisan had contacted me and told me I could come pick up my laptop on the third floor of the Lowry building. I had to call my good friend, former wrestling and football coach, and former Dixon County and NBA colleague, David Brown. I asked, "Where is the Lowry building?" Like you, he laughed out loud and said, "Boy, you have been gone a long time." So, on a hot June afternoon, I parked and timidly found the Lowry building. I waited patiently for someone to walk by to let me in. Upon entering the building, who did I run into but none other than my old friend George Mario. I had not seen George in 16 years. He smiled and greeted me in a way that only George can and exclaimed, "Ed!" With George, it was like I had never left. I was truly home. George Mario is a treasure and gift to anyone who knows him. He is one of the hundreds of reasons this is a special place that I now call home again. Being able to work here is a gift. I've come to believe that everything that brings life is a gift. Anything good, true, and beautiful is a gift. My next breath and my next meal is a gift. The fact that I can say these words is a gift. Life itself is truly a gift. My classroom in Lowry 25 has given me many great gifts this school year. I teach 4 classes, and I have a study hall in this room. I daily interact with approximately 80 boys. 80 gifts, you might say. C.S. Lewis said, "There are no mere mortals," a reminder that even our weakest, goofiest, most obnoxious students are very special human beings with so much to offer. I also share D Block Study Hall with Dr. Charles Sly in room 25 in the Lowry building. At the beginning of the school year, he kindly invited me to feel free staying in the room during this time. I'm glad I took him up on that. This has been also a great gift. I have observed and listened to Charles gracefully interact with the boys. Whether it being students who have come in for tutoring or guidance, to the boys in study hall, he speaks to them with a kindness and respect that's made a deep impression on me. Our sharing of Lowry 25 has also provided us the opportunity to talk about a variety of many things. From listening to his stories of growing up on a farm in Texas, to watching hawks and various species of birds together outside the window, to various authors who have made impacts on us, to the daily rhythms of NBA, I've been given the gift of friendship with Dr. Charles Sly, and I'm very thankful. Since I gave this speech to the faculty, NBA lost a precious faculty member, Colonel Joe Sharble. I was just getting to know Joe. He began teaching at NBA in the fall of 2004. I left in the spring of '04. Ironically, the last conversation I had with Joe was about this speech. He was very kind and thoughtful. Even though I did not know Joe very well, I've gotten to know some faculty and students here who Joe made a deep impression on in a very positive way. Joe's presence on MBA's campus was truly a gift for so many. Max Sly, son of Charles, recently wrote these words, these beautiful words, in the bell ringer. Grief may tear us apart inside, but it also brings us together with those we love. I was amazed to see friends reaching out to each other and offering support in a community racked so long by the fear and uncertainty of a pandemic. I sat with a couple of friends on the plaza on that fateful Tuesday, and we shared memories and comforted each other through tears and laughter. We all know one person, or maybe several, we can help. Mr. Sharble was, among all other things, a firm believer in compassion and kindness, and he practiced these traits relentlessly. One may not be a sterling math scholar or the fastest athlete on the team, but everyone at MBA has the potential to show their kindness to the world. I would like to share a bit of wisdom Mr. Sharble shared with me. There are people in this world, both men and women, who you will love more than you could ever put into words. Don't feel ashamed to be a loving person. What a gift Joe Sharble passed on to Max, and then what a gift Max passed on to us. So each morning when we get up, we have a decision to make. Are we going to appreciate the gifts of this day, or will we depreciate the day? Will we add to the value of this day, or will we make this day less than it can be? So here's the question. Do I dwell on what I do not have, or am I grateful for the gifts I have? At this point in my life, I just hope to see the goodness of each day and bring my best self to it. I was recently in Coach Roderick Russ's classroom, and I saw a poster that read, "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift." That quote's from Steve Prefontaine. So, in the midst of a mental health crisis, I encourage you to slow down enough to see the many gifts you have been given that are all around you. It takes discipline and practice to live from attention and awareness to the good, true, and beautiful in the modern world, but it is a practice well worth doing. Inhabit the moment. Each moment is full of goodness. Events like tonight are full of goodness, truth, and beauty. Why do we rush to our next moment, rarely slowing down enough to savor the gift of the present moment we have been given? Let's not miss the goodness of each day and bring our best selves to it. Tonight, I hope you're able to feel and receive the gratitude and love MBA has for you. So I encourage you to look around and see the many gifts we have been given that are all around us. I hope you find as many gifts as I've found this school year. Thank you again for all you have done and will continue to do, and for welcoming me home.
So I'm going to go ahead and start. Camelia asked me if I would say a few words to close us up and to thank you for what you've done. And so when I thought about that, I thought I should draw a picture for them of the things that I think their support means and why it's important to have your support. So I began to think about my being here and what's important to me. For those of you that don't know, I have been here 6 years. I'm Mark Tips. I'm the athletics director. I teach American government and economics, coach baseball and football. 6 years ago, I was practicing law in Nashville, and I'd done that for 30 years. And I decided that representing large companies in court battles was not something that was going to have lasting meaning long after I was gone, and I wanted to do something that might. And so I thought, what things have meaning to you? And I immediately thought a lot about my teachers and coaches that I had in high school and college. And I had known Brad from Leadership Nashville. We were in the class of 2001 together. And I talked to him about coming here. And in 2015, my son graduated, and I came that fall. And that's been 6 years. My very first class at MBA that I taught was an American government class. I had 14 seniors in the class. I told those boys on the very first day that I knew they weren't very interested in this, because when I was their age, I wasn't very interested in it. I was interested in girls and football, and pretty much in that order. And I told them that they needed to pay attention, though, because I thought their generation would be the most challenged generation since the greatest generation, the World War II generation, which is the generation of my father, who fought in World War II and died 2 years ago at 96. I have told every class that I've had since then that same thing. And 6 years later, as I watch what is happening in our country, I believe more fervently that this generation of kids is going to be the most challenged. And I think that it's incumbent upon us then as adults to talk about what are we going to do about that. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that tonight. We teach kids here math and science. We teach them history. We teach them English. We do all of that, and I think we do it pretty well. We also get them ready for college, because it's a college prep school. But I think our primary focus is, and ought to be, to teach kids and to encourage them to strive for excellence in everything they do, and to strive to live extraordinary lives, and to avoid mediocrity. I think this country is rampant with mediocrity. To teach boys to live extraordinary lives means to teach them to care for other people, to respect the opinions of other people, to be able to talk to other people who are of different backgrounds from them. It means to be able to empathize with other people. It means a host of values like that. And those are the things that we're trying to teach these boys. To think, not what to think, but how to think. To value other people and their opinions. To understand that the world we live in is complex and its issues are complex. To be lifelong learners, and to be problem solvers. Problem solvers are people who can speak and write and think and listen. One of my early mentors was Howard Baker. A lot of you remember who he was. Some of the younger people don't. He was a senator from Tennessee, majority leader. He was President Reagan's White House chief of staff. He always said that a great leader had to be an eloquent listener. I think teaching kids to listen to the people around them, particularly people who are different from them and have different opinions, is really important. In addition to those things, we need to teach them how to cooperate with people, empathize with other people, and be able to exercise judgment and discretion. If you can do those things, you can solve problems. With all the technology in the world, businesses are going to come and go. Industries are going to come and go. But if you can be a problem solver, you have talents that will always be important and always be in demand. And if those kids can also learn that the real purpose of life is to serve other people and to be a part of something bigger than yourself, then they can harness all of that. And those are the kinds of young men and women that will go out and bridge the gap and bridge the divide that currently separates us as citizens and give our country a great chance in the future. So when you think about what's at stake and you think about the types of kids we're teaching here and what they will go do in this world, I cannot think of anything that is more deserving of your time and of your money and of your efforts than what you do for this school. I think our mission here is critical, and I think it's something that's lasting and something that will abide. I thank you all so much for everything you do, for your love and care for this school. I appreciate you being here tonight very much. Thanks.